A Chinese AI startup launched an AI model in 2025, which was built in roughly around $6 million and used old Nvidia chips, shook the US tech industry. US tech stocks fell, and China became the biggest tech competitor of US, weakening its dominance. China, which was once called a copycat country, is now competing with the world's biggest superpower, the United States. But how China transitioned itself to a competitor from a copycat, and how China's technological advancement matters to you, let's figure out.
China set a record of over 2 million industrial robot installation in 2024. China holds the world's fastest high-speed rail with a total network of 165,000 kilometers. People's Republic of China.
In the years of 1990s and 2000s, China got the tag of copycat. This narrative was spread by Western countries because China copied Western business models. For example, Chinese tech giants are assumed to be a copy of US tech giants, like Baidu of Google and Alibaba of Amazon. There were also myths that China got developed because of its activities like unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. Another myth is that without China's government support, the private companies wouldn't have done anything. The narrative that China stole is not completely true. China just started from zero and made such strategies that many misunderstood with cheating. To understand this, first we need to go back in time. In 1949, when China got its independence, it was an agrarian economy. People were unfamiliar with deep tech and advanced technology. China was heavily dependent on Soviet Union for its assistance. But a turning point came in 1960s when Soviet Union withdrew its support and left China alone. Since then, China made no major progress in technology until a turning point came in 1978. Deng Xiaoping, who was the leader of China during that period, opened up the economy for the rest of the world, but at a clause that whichever foreign company has to set up its business, it has to share its technology and knowledge with China. Think of it in this way, that if you have a restaurant franchise and you want to open your branch in China, then you need to share your recipe with them. By this, people studied their technology, identified loopholes, made it better, and implemented in their own country. China didn't just copy, it improved it and made something that outperformed from others. This forced technology transfer had positive impacts, like it boosted the country's economy, raised the living standards of people, and also led to industrial development, but also had negative impacts. China was still dependent on foreign companies for tech components like semiconductor, and China was vulnerable to trade restrictions. Also, China wasn't doing any domestic innovations. So China now decided that it would innovate instead of relying on others. That's when the Chinese government introduced Made in China Policy 2025, whose aim was to make China a global high-tech industrial leader. Its main focus was on information technology, aerospace equipment, artificial intelligence, robotics. China also invested in research and development. The government also provided subsidies to tech companies. Also, China invested in improving its human capital to generate a skilled workforce. But this policy also alarmed the Western nations, as the Chinese government support to tech companies made it difficult for Western companies to compete in sectors like artificial intelligence and electronic vehicles. Also, the aim of self-reliance of China in this policy feared the Western nations of losing their dominance in technology and innovation. But the question is that did this policy actually work? Here is the proof. Huawei, a Chinese technological multinational company, developed 5G technology to offer high-speed network, has now become a global leader in 5G technology, competing with companies like Ericsson and Nokia. It has most 5G patents with around 15 to 20% globally. Some Western countries banned Huawei's 5G technology to slow down its progress because it was going ahead from them. Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited is the world's largest manufacturer of battery for electric vehicles. Its key innovations include Shenzheng battery, which offers a super fast charging of 400 km at a 10 minutes charge. CATL also exports its batteries to automakers like Tesla, Volkswagen and BMW. As of 2025 data, CATL has a global market share of 39.2% and has its presence in different countries around the world. DeepSeek AI, a Chinese AI startup, built an AI model delivering ChatGPT's level performance, specializes in coding, mathematics and engineering. It was built in roughly around $6 million, which was significantly lower than the Western AI models. Despite the chip restrictions by US, the company used older chips like Nvidia H800 to train its models. But when DeepSeek launched its R1 model in January 2025, it shook the Western tech industry. these stocks were affected, including Nvidia, whose stock dropped nearly around 17% and lost around $600 billion in market. This launch affected the monopoly of West in AI. DeepSeek proved that models could be built with less resources, as its cost was 10% from the Western AI models like ChatGPT, which was built in around $100 million. Chinese innovations were really next level, but every coin has two sides. China also faced some criticisms behind these innovations. These include IP theft, in which allegations were imposed on China of extracting sensitive information and technology from others. Forced technology transfer. The foreign companies have to share their technology with China, which would increase their domestic competition and would affect their business. Although China denied these allegations, stating that they are not specific and lack proper evidence. Inventions like DeepSeek required strategic planning and innovation because of availability of less resources. So theft cannot be a sole reason. But do you know that these innovations by China will not only impact their people, but will also impact the people living outside China? For example, China leads in manufacturing of electronic vehicles and solar panels. So any advancement in manufacturing technology can lower the cost of its products and make it affordable for others. And this happened in real. The MG4 EV car manufactured by SAIC Motors became the second best-selling electronic vehicle in United Kingdom in 2022. China also leads in manufacturing of industrial robots. These industrial robots can help the businesses to cut down their production cost and make the products more affordable. But these robots can also have an impact on the jobs of people because it will reduce the involvement of humans. So now you must have understood that China isn't a copycat. It just went from copying to genuinely innovating and is now competing with the West. I hope this changed the way you think about China. If yes, then drop a comment and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.